What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel where today we're going to be back working on our 2011 Rolls-Royce Ghost project. Now in our previous video we took a look at some of the damage and we had some time to source some parts, and now it's time to start on the repairs. And we're going to start by getting this thing up onto a frame machine and making some pulls, getting those rear panels straight so all of our new pieces will line up correctly. But before we get to that, if these are the types of cars you enjoy, then consider clicking the subscribe button so you can follow along with everything that goes on here on the channel. Now let's get to work. And as you can see, it's fall. We have the leaves coming down, which is going to put a little bit of a damper on some of the things that I do, but it's okay. But we need to work on this Rolls-Royce now that we've got the parts. We need to concentrate on some of that area in the back. We need to pull some of that area out, and I believe I've got a solution. All right, so we got a little change here. As you can see, we have the Rolls-Royce up on a frame machine, and it's handy to know somebody that actually has one of these things. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on this structure area here. We're going to try to get this out. It's going to be a lot easier to do it on this than, you know, say a tree or with a chain in a truck. So we want to get all this stuff out so our deck lid will line up, our tail light will line up, and our rear bumper will line up. There she comes. Actually looks pretty good.
Looks pretty good.
All gets covered up with panels.
Oh,
as long as the panel snaps on it.
Yeah, I mean that looks 90% right now.
Yeah.
Compared to come in here at 10%.
Pretty surprised on how well it actually pulled out.
We're not where we need to be just yet, but that's
close. I mean,
there.
yeah, that's pretty good.
That's definitely getting there.
Looks like it might have took a little bit of that kink out over there. This,
yeah, you know,
still kind of rolling.
That thing's mashed in. Like you see how much farther this is sticking out than this. That's this thing. We're gonna wind up welding some tabs on here and pulling this thing, and that's gonna turn this thing around right there. This thing is turned like this. It needs to be flattened back out because it's supposed to be kind of like out at this angle right here.
So far we've made some pretty good progress, and I'm pretty happy with the way this thing has actually pulled out. I really didn't expect this panel to look that good after we pulled on it, but as you can see, I think this is going to be salvageable. Now most of this is going to be covered up with panels, so you're not going to see it. So as long as our trim panel here snaps in and our trunk lid latch lines up, we should be good with this inner panel. So we're going to concentrate on the taillight area now. We're going to weld in some tabs so we can do some pulls here and get this area out so we can get all this structure set up ready for the new tail light. And that's why you don't stand behind that.
Quarter pound 9,000, wasn't it?
Something like that.
That's the kind of movement we need to see. Starting to look a little bit more like the side over here.
Surprised it actually saved some of the body lines.
Yeah.
It's actually still there.
So that's what I want to do next is weld on that body line right there. Pull that body line back into it, you know?
Now, unfortunately, my camera died when we were doing all that pulling. But if you take a look here, we have everything pretty much sorted. It's probably 90%. We do need to do some work here. And, you know, all this is going to get covered up by panels. So you're not really going to see any of this. But it's back where it needs to be. Now, obviously, right here around the tail light, we're going to have to do some work. And you can see we've still got some bends and some dents and some dings. And we're going to try to have to work this out because we don't want to have to load this up with filler, because that's not really the right way to do it. But it is going to take some filler. And as you can see, I've already kind of started working on some of the areas here. These are where we welded our tabs. We're going to have to grind this down, smooth it up, and obviously we got a break there. We're going to have to fix that. So as you can see, we do have a replacement tail light. And let me tell you, these things are hard to come by. They are very, very expensive. And this one is in good shape, but we are going to have to do a little bit of work to it because the turn signal does not work. So we'll have to address that a little later on. But right now we're going to do the body work. And you can see, just by looking at it, we've got a little edge there that needs to be worked. Obviously, you know, all through here is going to need to be reworked. So obviously our old boot lid is not going to fit very well because it is the old mangled one, but the new one fit in really well. We got it to line up right along right here where the taillight is and along the bumper cover edge. But the problem with keeping it from getting aligned correctly is all here in our hinges. Both hinges are bent. Now I did manage to pick up this right boot lid hinge, and let me tell you, these things are hard to come by and they are very expensive. Even used, these things are very expensive. Brand new, that's $1,500 from the dealer. So we have a right hinge, but we also need a left hinge. And since these things are really hard to find and they're really expensive, I think I'm just going to try to straighten out this left one. Now, removing these hinges are not really an easy job because you got to take off a lot of parts. If you look here on our replacement hinge, you can see that these things bolt in from the top. So looking inside, I'm going to show you how to get to the nuts to remove those hinges. You see all this trim that goes around the window. All that trim has to come off. Our back seat has to come off. The back part, the bottom part, this side piece on that side, and we have to remove that package tray. Now obviously it is a little bit of work, but the main thing on something like this is you have to be extremely careful because That little trim piece that runs across the top there, that little trim piece alone is around $1,500. So you have to be extremely careful because all this stuff is very, very, very expensive and hard to come by. So it's going to take a little bit of time to do all this work and to get everything right. But this is something that you have to do. You have to get this thing right. It has to be presentable. I mean, it's a Rolls-Royce. It's going to stick out. People are going to gawk and all over it, and it needs to be right. So until next time, when we'll tear down that rear interior, work on our boot hinges, and continue those rear repairs, I'd like to say thank you for watching. Be sure you check out all my videos on all my other projects, and if you're not subscribed, then consider clicking the subscribe button, click the bell so you'll get the notifications, and you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram.